Hey everybody, welcome back to another installment of K&E Theater Group's local spotlight series. Before we get started, really quickly, in the comment section below on Facebook, there is a PayPal link. If you are so inclined to help K&E Theater Group with our 2021 season, you can click on that link and donate there. If you're not on Facebook, you're on IGTV or our YouTube channel, or you are on Facebook and you want to do it later, that's okay too. I encourage it. You can go to our website, which is ketg.org, click on Support KETG, and you can donate there. Well, we are about to have somebody on the show that does not need an introduction. If you know theater around here and you are part of the local theater community, this name will absolutely ring a bell. So ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce to you, Becca Coolong. Hi, Becca.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here.
Well, we're going to start with the first question that I ask everybody. It's one of my favorite questions to get to know you a little bit. Okay. And that is, what is your theatrical timeline? Where did you start? Where are you now? And give us all the juicy stuff in the middle.
Okay, so I stage managed my first show in middle school. I was at Rogers Park Junior High, and I did Bye Bye Birdie. And I worked on set construction, actually. So I started with a screw gun in my hand and a stage manager's clipboard in the other, and really enjoyed it. I've never been a performer. I don't go on stage. I'm not one of those people who wanted to perform and then ended up in tech. I absolutely started in tech, stayed in tech, love my tech. I performed once and one time only. I was a tap dancing man in a toga. Really, this was before the days of digital video, so there is no actual evidence. There is.
What show is that?
Won't find it. It was a show called Olympus on My Mind, actually. One of the greatest musicals that no one has ever heard of.
Right.
I sometimes think to myself that I would love to direct it, and then I say to myself, did you like it because it was fun to work on or because it's a good show? And I'm pretty sure it was fun to work on. So I did that, and I started working in community theaters. I got involved at Musicals at Richter, which is down in Danbury, Connecticut. It's a great theater company. I'm still connected with some people I worked with there a zillion years ago. And then I had an awesome opportunity to apply for an internship at Lucille Lortel's White Barn Theater in Westport, Connecticut. So Lucille Lortel was the owner of the Lortel Theater in New York City. She was the queen of off-Broadway. And when I got the internship, and the first year I was with Lucille, she celebrated her 97th birthday. Ooh. The 6th year that I was with Lucille, she celebrated her 97th birthday. So it's a little unclear. I'm not sure the first 97 was the first 97, but the woman was amazing. It was an honor. So my first year I was an intern for her. I was 14.
Oh, wow.
I think. And I got a call over the winter. It's a summer theater. I got a call over the winter asking if I would come back as their stage manager the next year. So, yeah, being too young and stupid to know that didn't make any sense, I said, sure, of course I'll do that. And I went back and I ran the apprenticeship program. And I stayed there for 7 years total, 6 years that she was still with us. And then I stayed one more year past the time that she passed to honor her memory and everything she did for me. She was an incredible, incredible human. And I got to work with incredible humans when I was there. So all of my mentors and friends and the opportunities that I got were quite extraordinary. And because of my time there, I actually went to New York. I became a stage manager when I was in my teens still. So that was cool. And in my life, I've always said I built an entire theater career. And in fact, my other career past that by using the phrase, well, how hard could this be? And so I did that. And Lucille taught me that phrase, how hard could this be? So from White Barn, I was there for 7 years. It was an incredible opportunity. And I went to New York. I worked as a stage manager. I had a great time. And I was then offered the opportunity to go to Hartford Stage in Hartford, Connecticut. They were looking for an associate general manager at that point. So I went in and joined that team. I was there for 3 years, which was great. I feel I've used the word great a lot of times, so I'm going to veer off of that to a different word like terrific.
Fantastic.
I left Hartford Stage and I went and worked for a company called On Location Education that provided teachers to children working in the business. So I worked in film and television. I did concert tours. I worked on the Radio City Christmas Spectacular, which was fun. And then I left the industry for a while for varying reasons and decided that I needed to take a bit of a break, had significant career change, and didn't do anything for about 10 years. And I just kind of let that be and let that part of my life be. In college, I started directing. I sort of skipped over that part. I started directing in college. Weird. I really enjoyed it and had great opportunities to do some pieces that I really liked doing and found that I enjoyed that part of the work, but had also stepped away from that. So in 2014, I was running the youth programming for the Springfield Jewish Community Center, as I said, well out of the theater world. And I was informed by my bosses that I was now in charge of the youth theater program. And I said, no, I'm not. And they said, yes, you are. And they said, but you don't have to do anything with it. Just oversee it. So I hired the wonderful and amazing Tony Jones. And if people don't know the wonderful and amazing Tony Jones, they should run the youth programs. You should know him. You would love him. Introductions will be made. And we started working on those programs together. And the JCC had formerly had a young teenage theater program, and those teens were now young adults, and they showed up at my office and they said, we should have a theater program for us. And I said, no. And they said, yes. And I said, no, I will not be doing that, nor do I want to. And they kept poking at me. And I finally said to them, what show is it that you want to do? And they said, Avenue Q. And I said, oh, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I said, I'm going to tell the J, and they're going to say no. And then this will all be solved. So I said to them, great, if the J approves it, then yes, we'll start a theater company. And they did, much to my surprise.
Wow.
So I, being a woman of my word, went back to them and said, all right, we have a theater company. So we formed J-Art, which was the JCC Actors Repertory Theater, for people who might not have known what J-Art stood for. And as J-Art was running and I was producing, I remembered that I loved directing things. So I decided it was time to come out of retirement. And there was a show that I had wanted to do for 25 years, which is odd because I'm only 30. Mm-hmm. And
add up.
So I wanted to do the show for 25 years, and it's a show called Closer Than Ever. And I got introduced to Bill Martin.
Yes.
The incomparable Bill Martin. And he said, sure, we'll do this show. And he called me and said, we've got some cast members, let's do a show. And I said, okay, great. And it turned out that my cast members were Ben Ashley, Louis Manzi, Devin Bakum, and Lisa Rizzo.
Oh, wow.
So off we go, and we did a show. And I had wonderful opportunities at the J. I left the J a couple of years ago and had a great opportunity to be at Exit 7, do Spring Awakening there. Headed off to Opera House and did Beauty and the Beast. Unity House Players, did Seussical. I'm theater hopping now. At some point, K&E is going to let me in the door. It's going to be great. I've been teasing you about that since the day you opened the door, I think.
2018, yep.
And, recently was back at Opera House, did Matilda. And I'm just looking forward to all of the wonderful things that theater has to offer. So
that's amazing. Life.
Condensed version.
But it's so much information. You've done so much. Something that actually really stuck out to me that I'd love for you to dig into a little bit more. Tell us what it was like being the associate general manager, the associate general manager of a company like Hartford Stage. What did you have to do? Tell us about that.
Sure. It was great. I like to point out that I was incredibly lucky with my career. I had wonderful people who helped me get to where I wanted to be, mentors and friends that, I can't begin to imagine being as lucky as I was. And in a lot of cases, luck and the ability to once again say, how hard can this be, can take you really far. So in this case, it took me to Hartford Stage. I did not have any business background in running theaters. I did not know how to do that, but I convinced them I did. Shh, don't help them. No. And I had people there who really mentored me. Our general manager at the time, his name was John Conti, brilliant economic mind, who took his time to teach me how to budget. So when I was there, I spent a lot of time on the business end. I ran the budget. It was, I believe it was a $10 million budget at the time, thereabouts. I know, right? Mm-hmm. And I learned everything I know about budgeting from him, which I have taken, and I'm an executive director of a small organization now, so I took all of that knowledge that I learned in the business of theater and applied it outside. I also did actor contract negotiations, which was probably one of my favorite things that I have gotten to do in the theater. It was a riot every day. I had a agent from William Morris who used to refer to me as Kitten. So I used to refer to him as Poopsie, because if he's going to call me Kitten, I'm going to call him Poopsie. And because the William Morris agents were pretty much at the time all old men.
Sounds right.
Different time of theater. So actor negotiations were great. I would get, Michael Wilson was the artistic director at the time, and he would tell us who he was interested in, and I would call their agents and start that process of back and forth and what we were willing to offer and what they were willing to accept. So I really had the job of putting the people on the stage, and that was fun. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, the business end and that part was great.
Cool. So I want to go now into your kind of your direction. So the first thing I have to ask you is, what is your favorite show that you have directed and why?
Okay. So as you know, we always, as directors, we always say we love our children all the same and we don't pick amongst them. So with that being said, I do not pick amongst any of you except for the fact that Falsetto Land was my favorite. And they know, and my other cast know. I had the wonderful opportunity to direct Falsetto Land, which is a tremendous piece about Judaism and the LGBTQ community, HIV, family, what it means to be family. And it's an incredible piece of theater. And actually the part of the piece that's sitting behind me was part of my set from that, which has now been combined with a piece of art that my son made regarding Black Lives Matters and Pride Month. So they all came together in this beautiful piece that I get to look at every day.
Gorgeous.
Around the outside was part of the tree that was on my set. So if you saw it, might know pieces of that. It was a great show. It's a beautiful piece to work on. I had the most incredible cast that I got to work with. I've never been in a space with people who were so in tune to being together. We started rehearsals at 6:00, but my schedule didn't start till 6:30 because I knew the first half an hour was everyone just sharing their days with each other and just spending time and eating. We did a lot of eating.
I love eating.
But it was family, and it was family performing. And we also did talkbacks every night of our performances.
Oh,
so
wow.
For people who might not know the show, we only did the second act of what was a 2-act show, but they were written separately, so it worked. But because it was only the second act, it was shorter, so we decided we wanted to add something, and we added an educational component. And one of my favorite pieces was we had a speaker who was the first openly trans professor at an Orthodox Jewish university.
Wow.
So she waited until she had tenure before she started her transition, so they couldn't actually get rid of her. And continued to teach at the university, became a poet and a speaker, and nationally, and came and did part of our project with us, and that was pretty incredible. But I have to say my favorite talkback was the night that the cast talked to the audience and about their experience and each other. And I say we know we did a good thing because we made our lighting designer cry. And for those who know lighting designers, you know they don't cry. So we did make our lighting designer cry. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing. So
that's amazing. What a story.
Yeah, it was a special one.
I love that. So now you've directed around town. So can you take us on a journey, if you will? Tell us about what it's like for you from auditions and getting that script in your hand for the first time through rehearsal, tech, all the way to opening night.
Yes, sure. It's a lot. I always tell people, just run, don't do it. Just don't do it now. You should direct. Everyone should direct. Everyone should try directing one time. I believe that every performer should sit at an audition table one time and be part of that process. I try to start with pieces that mean something to me, and pieces can mean something for a lot of different reasons. I've done some shows because I've wanted to work with certain designers or directors. I've done some shows because the show meant something to me. I've done some shows because the theater company meant something to me. I've picked different reasons to do different shows. But I always try to sit down, I read the script, but I try to go in with a really open mind and a really open heart. I believe casting shows are about balance. And if you aren't open to ideas, sometimes you don't see the best things that are in front of you. And sometimes you have to walk away from something that's great because it doesn't fit with the other things that are great that you are working with already. And that's really, really hard. It's hard to be a community theater director and do auditions because you know everybody.
Truth.
And you know that you're going to hurt people's feelings. And I don't know that people always remember that it hurts us just as much as it hurts the person who doesn't get cast or doesn't get the role they want. And so I would always ask actors and performers to remember that it hurts just as much here. I also ask people to remember that it doesn't always have as much to do with them as they may think it does. The balance is that important piece. I can use Beauty and the Beast as an example. I had a lovely young actress that I called back for Belle, and she was wonderful. And at callbacks, I had her and I had the people who I called back for the Beast, and I realized that she looked like she was about 12 years old and they looked like grown men. And this was not okay. And she was wonderful, but the balance was not okay. We couldn't have that. So she, I wasn't able to cast her even though she was great because it really would have been very uncomfortable for an audience. So, so auditions, I try to come to every audition with an open mind and an open heart and see what's in front of me. And I have had some of my most tremendous successes by being ready to see something, just not being sure what it was that I'm looking for. So that's auditions. Rehearsals, I'm a scheduler. People who know me know that I like schedules. I like to be on time. I like to have everything prepared. So I will sit down usually with my stage manager, usually for 5 to 7 to 10 hours and write a rehearsal schedule for the entire process because that's my way. And it's a process. Working around people's conflicts when you have actors who are volunteers,
Yes.
Get a lot of conflicts, and conflicts come up later, which really sort of breaks my heart sometimes because I spend a lot of time on those schedules.
Same.
And it is hard because we get such a limited amount of time. I don't know that everyone realizes usually we get 2 to 3 nights a week for about 3 hours at a time to put together all of these shows, and we get about 8 to 9 weeks to do it in. It's not a lot of time, so we really need to use all that time that we have. I tend to show up about an hour early for my rehearsals because I like to sit for a few minutes and breathe and think about what I'm doing. I spend a lot of time scribbling notes into scripts that sometimes get used and sometimes don't because sometimes you're inspired by what you see on stage.
True.
So that is important to me. I try to help actors realize that what we're doing is a privilege but also a joy. So that's fun. And I tell people I have pictures in my head, and if it wasn't for the actors, they would stay trapped in my head forever because I don't paint, I don't dance, I don't act, I don't sing, I don't do any of those things. I move people around. That's my art. So I am deeply appreciative of the people who allow me to move them around on stage and make my pictures. So I love that part. Opening nights of shows, I give small tokens, and then I try to step back and let it not be mine anymore. I worked in a professional world, and in a professional world of theater, directors go away. It's not their show anymore. They're done. They come back every now and again, sometimes to check on them, but mostly they're just gone. And I try to step back and let my stage managers have their moments and their glory because it's their show at this point. I try to let the actors have their moment. And I just try to sit back and enjoy. I tell the cast, I sit starting in Tech Week and I pretend that I'm Gladys Smith sitting in the 6th row. And would I enjoy it if I was Gladys? Not if I'm Becca who knows every little piece that might have been missed or all of these things, but did Gladys Smith in the 6th row enjoy it? And if Gladys Smith enjoyed it, then we did our job.
Oh, Gladys.
She's great. She's great. I always save a seat for Gladys because she's amazing.
She's cute.
So that's my process.
That's a great process. I love that you take a moment before rehearsal to get yourself together and figure out, okay, this is what needs to get accomplished today. This is how we're going to accomplish it today, but kind of get yourself one with the space alone before anybody gets there. I think
Absolutely.
that's very it's just a smart way to go into something where you're going to be creating and sometimes thinking on your feet, and your brain is going to be moving for the next 3 hours. I like that.
I've been thinking in this whole quarantine, one of the things that I miss in theaters that was always part of my world at Lucille's Theater was ghost lights. And the joy of walking into a ghostlit theater and that single light sitting in the middle of the stage. So I like to kind of think of those moments as being that single light sitting in the middle of the stage that starts everything off. Because I miss the tradition. I don't think we see it as much anymore. And I miss that tradition. It's something that, that glow that shows us we're never alone.
Mm-hmm.
And the lights never really go down. Is pretty awesome.
They do not. Even now.
Look at what you're doing. You're keeping the lights right on up with this. So
we're trying.
I know as a community we appreciate it. So thank you.
All right, so now we're going to go into, I like to call these next 2 questions rapid fire questions, because I think they're fun. They're a little tidbit about you. So if there was one show you could see over and over again for the rest of your life, now I'm saying over and over, what would it be?
Bandstand.
Now, why?
If I could, it would have to be the Broadway cast.
Okay.
It is an amazing piece of theater. Its direction is stunning. And as a director, that's one of the things that I look for is these moments. And there are a couple really sort of spectacular moments. But what's fascinating is it's not the leads in the show that make that show. And I know you've seen it, so I know you know what I'm talking about. The leads are good.
They're amazing.
They're very good. But the ensemble, the rest of the band, her mother, are so nuancedly spectacular. Mm-hmm. That every time you look at it, there's something else. And there's one scene in the show, and the show, for people who might be watching this who don't know, it's a show about people post-World War II, returning veterans who have formed a band and they're experiencing PTSD and all of these things. You should see it. It's amazing. But there is a moment where the cast members are all walking across the stage, the characters living their lives, doing their thing, and they all come walking around across the stage with people dressed in fatigues wrapped around them. And these images, these ghost images of the people they left behind. And they walk in such a way that they're moving in regular pace and the people are wrapped around them and not touching them, but so close there's barely a breath of air between. And as a director, I looked at this and I was like, if I could ever be half that brilliant, if I could ever have half that moment of insight that said, that so dramatically showed what an emotion looks like in a physical way, I would never have to do anything again.
Well,
was
it directed by Andy Blankenbuehler?
Yeah.
So it's directed. So he's a choreographer. So
he did both the direction and choreography.
Yeah. So it's interesting to know that he used something about space and and emotion, similar to dance.
The direction is very dance. And
it is very dance.
The scene changes. You can see the scene changes are very dance. Mm-hmm. But the show should be very dance.
Agreed.
So yeah, I could watch it a million times and see a million different things.
I love that. So now my next one is one of my favorites because a lot of times people answer and it's completely different than what I would expect. And that is, what are 3 dream shows that you want to direct?
Okay, well, those are easy, and probably most people who know me know them. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, which is funny because I didn't want to see it the first time because I love the film, and I was afraid that the stage show was not going to live up to the quality of the film, and it's pretty spectacular, and I was really impressed. So Priscilla is very high on my list. Godspell is an important one to me. My uncle was part of the original Broadway touring cast, and so my entire life listening to Godspell. It has literally been in every moment of my life. There are pieces of those songs that have come to me. So it is a circle completion for me to do Godspell. And I would love to do Bandstand. I would love it. I could never be half as brilliant but I would like to, it's an amazing show, and I would like to live in that moment, even
Question, Godspell.
Godspell.
Original or 2012 revival?
So here's the thing. Original.
Okay.
Original, because again, Godspell is part of why it is special to me, is because it is my childhood, it is my life, and that was obviously the original production.
Right.
Beautiful City is one of the most stunning songs that has ever been added to a musical, as far as I'm concerned, which obviously was not in the original.
Right.
It is a stunning song. I don't always know that it fits thematically with the rest of the songs in the show. It's a little it's a strange moment for me, but part of that could be because I have such an emotional connection to the whole thing that it sort of takes me out of that moment when I get to it. I love the song though, and I would love the opportunity to work on that song. But for me, directing is the original.
All right. All right. So I've got one more question for you. It's the same question that I close out every interview with. It's my personal favorite because every answer strikes a chord in every person. There's no wrong answer. There's no right answer, but there's a universal answer. And that's what draws you to live theater?
Stress. I like stress, anxiety, and frustration. Now, it's exciting. And again, I think for me, I have pictures in my head, and I'm not a performer and I'm not an artist. I think if I could paint, then I probably wouldn't have to do theater. But I can't paint. When you have pictures in your head and when you have a creative voice that you want to share, there's nothing more fun than doing it live. I worked in film, and it loses some of the magic when you can just do it again. Mm-hmm. And do it again and just do it. If you didn't get it quite right, you just do it again. In theater, you keep going, and anything can happen. And these moments that happen are sometimes amazing and sometimes hysterical, and sometimes you sit there and think to yourself, my God, what happened? But you get to the end of it, and you get to the end of it as a team, because nobody stands out there alone. And you know who your family is, you know who your community is. And so I keep coming back because I need to put that out there and live in those moments. So yeah, I love it.
I love that. Well, Becca, thank you so much for joining us today and being so insightful. And it was so interesting to hear about your theatrical past. I didn't know that it was so in depth.
There's a lot of things. So I'm happy. I love to tell stories. So if I had gone into my White Barn days, we would be here for days. So
We'd be here for days.
Days and days. So I consolidate it. But everyone knows how to reach me if you haven't already heard them and want.
Just talk to Becca. She will take you on a ride. She'll take you on a journey. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Becca. It was such a pleasure. I love you.
Much, and I hopefully will see you live and in person.
I hope so. We'll chat soon, okay?
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
She's such a great person, and her energy is just so fantastic. If you haven't seen one of her shows, go out, see one. I've seen, I think, 2 or 3 maybe now. They're always big and lavish and joyful. So if you're looking for a good time, that's the show to see. So thank you all again for joining us. Really quickly, if you are inclined to donate to Caney Theater Group to help us with our 2021 season, you can click on the link below on Facebook, and that is a PayPal link. You can donate there. You can also go to our website, which is ketg.org. Click on Support KETG and donate there. While there, sign up for our newsletter. Check out past interviews from the local Spotlight series. Keep checking in because our season, as well as some other virtual offerings, will be showing up soon. And just take a look at our website and get to know us a little bit better. Thank you all for joining us once again. Have a good night.